Hello, my name is Steve Munson, and I'm the Civil War Guru. And I'm here on assignment in historic Bardstown, Kentucky, at the Battle of the Western Theater Museum, the only museum dedicated to the war in the Western Theater of the Civil War. And in front of you, we have an outstanding display. And this gentleman's name is, he was elevated to the rank of Brigadier General, Thomas D. Sedgwick of the 2nd Kentucky U.S. Infantry. And Sedgwick was elected major in June of 1861 at Camp Clay in Ohio. And the reason they were in Ohio is Kentucky was neutral at the beginning of the war. He fought in the Battle of Barboursville, Virginia, and at the Battle of Scary Creek, Virginia. And at this particular battle, his commander, Colonel W.E. Woodruff, was captured. So he was appointed the commander of the 2nd Kentucky. He fought at the Battle of Shiloh, where he was wounded in the thigh and carried off the field, but he returned to battle within 1.5 hours. He was a fine commander. And then there became the dispute. The gentleman we talked about that was captured, Colonel Woodruff, was released from the Confederate prison and came back to the 2nd Kentucky and wanted to be put back in command. And President Lincoln told him that, wait, we'll raise another regiment for you and we'll leave Thomas Sedgwick in charge of the 2nd Kentucky. But please stay with him until you raise the other regiment. Then here comes the Battle of Murfreesboro, Tennessee. And during the Battle of Murfreesboro, Tennessee, the 2nd Kentucky had two commanders, Mr. Sedgwick and Mr. Woodruff. But Mr. Sedgwick was in charge. And at the particular battle, Colonel Woodruff was in charge of the artillery and actually saved a day for the Union forces. And that day, he went in to Rosecrans and resigned. So Thomas Sedgwick was in full command again. And of course, Thomas Sedgwick fought through all the battles, and his last particular battle was the Battle of Chickamauga. He was pulled out of the 2nd Kentucky and sent to Camp Nelson to raise black troops. He raised 114 colored troops at Camp Nelson, and then he went to Petersburg, Virginia, and they participated in that battle. Then after the war was over, they sent Mr. Sedgwick and his colored infantry down to Ringo, Texas, and down on the Brazos. And in 1867, his enlistment had expired, and he was released from service. This was a colorful character. And in front of us, we have his artifacts. And this was really it's a breathtaking group. And we're going to get our ace cameraman, Kenny Rogers. He'll get up here and get some close-ups of it. But just to give you an overview of what's in there, we have his colonel uniform and a rendering of it to the right, Colonel Sedgwick, later brigadier. We have 3 swords in there that were presented to Colonel Sedgwick. The first one was a calf sword, an officer's calf sword. And that was his first sword that he acquired in Louisville, Kentucky. And later he gave that particular sword to one of his captains, Captain Bodine. So you have the presentation on that sword that reads to Sedgwick, and then to Captain Bodine. And Bodine was killed in Georgia, and Sedgwick took the sword. The other 2 swords, the one you'll see on top has all the battle honors of every battle he fought in engraved on it, and a presentation. Then the other one was presented to him from his brother. We have an American flag and a sash and a shadow box. And when we got it from the family, that flag, and he was wearing that sash when they rode through Richmond. And when Richmond fell, he was there. And then over to the right, we're going to look at his silver service set that the 2nd Kentucky presented to him when he transferred from the 2nd Kentucky to the 114th Colored Troops. Magnificent silver service set. Each piece is engraved with battle honors. We have his kepi, we have his CDV, we have his single action star revolver, his boots. It's just an outstanding display. So Kenny Rogers is going to get up and get close and personal on this, and I hope you enjoy it. And for myself and the directors of the Civil War Museum, Battles of the Western Theater, please come down and visit us when the opportunity arises, and we'll be happy to give you a tour through the museum and show you what we have. So we're going to get up and get close and personal. All right, in front of us we have this silver hilted sword that was presented to Thomas Sedgwick with the battle honors on it. And Kenny's going to do his best to try to pull the battle honors where you can see them that are on the mounts. So we're going to start with the top mount, which has his name and presentation on it. So if y'all bear with me, Kenny will zoom in on it. All right, this is on the drag, and it also has it on the other side, the other battles that it was in, just to give you an idea how this thing is marked. All right, this is the second sword down in the display, and it's the one presented to Mr. Sedgwick by his brother, and it's engraved on the top mount. I'm going to zoom in on it, but this is the sword he actually carried most of the time, and the engraving is kind of worn, so we'll see how clear it is. I don't know if it's going to turn up very good on the camera, but we're going to try it. So here we go. Yeah, it looks a little worn, but it says presented to Colonel Sedgwick. This is one from his brother. And this is a standard 1850 foot officer sword. So I'm going to back her back out so you can see it. And we'll just pan down the sword. All right, we have Colonel Sedgwick's single action star revolver and holster in front of us. And, you know, I was always real fond of these particular revolvers because they were really reliable. They were easy to load, and they were popular among the officers. And this is a cool one. Most of the ones you see are double actions, shorter barrels. This is a single action. Real wonderful condition. But this is one he carried throughout the war. All right, here's the 7-piece silver service set that was presented to Colonel Sedgwick when he left the 2nd Kentucky in June of '64. And as I said before, each piece is engraved with battle honors and all the battles that he fought in. And also the base, the tray, is presented to him, to Colonel Sedgwick, from the men of the 2nd Kentucky with the date on. This absolutely breathtaking piece of history here. And I'm going to get Kenny up here. We're going to try to get up close so we can see maybe at least a couple presentations on some of the vessels that are in front of us, so you can kind of enjoy them like I did. And the artistry of when these things were made is just spectacular. So I'm going to get Kenny to move up for us. All right, this is the main urn, the water vessel or tea vessel, and that is Corinth, Mississippi, that's engraved on this particular vessel. And now we'll try to move to a couple other ones to get the engraving on so you can enjoy it. All right, this is the smaller teapot, and I hope you can read it. It says Chickamauga, and the great battle that actually the Confederate forces won the day there. So again, another one of the outstanding pieces here. And we'll try to probably get one more, and then we'll move to the last item. All right, here's another vessel here. And of course, the camera with the silver is real hard to get it, but that says Perryville on there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move the camera over to the graphics that we have on there, and I'll show the other battles that are on each vessel. So just bear with me, and I hope it don't make you dizzy. And there we go. And I'll back it back a little bit here and bring it down. There we go. Wonderful. And there it is. There's what you can't see is Gradle Bridge, Perryville, Kentucky. You've seen that one. Bridge Creek, Chickamauga, Stones River, Corinth, and Shiloh. And of course, the main tray is presented to Colonel Sedgwick from his men of the 2nd Kentucky. This is a fabulous, fabulous piece of American history and also of Kentucky history. So we're going to move to the last item. Will be the first sword that was acquired by Colonel Sedgwick, and it was in Louisville, Kentucky is actually where he got it. They had an outfitter up there on 3rd and Market Street in Louisville. And of course, there was a shortage of swords, so a man in the infantry ends up with a cavalry officer's sword. So I want to get the presentation on it that's presented to him, then where he gave it to Captain Bodine, who was killed leading part of the 2nd Kentucky at the Battle of Chickamauga. All right, this is the pommel cap of the sword, the first sword that Thomas Sedgwick had, and here's you can see the presentation on this spectacular presentation. And of course, underneath of it keeps reading down, and I'm not going to twist the sword around, but it's where he gave it to the Captain Bodine. But then I'm going to try to back off, and here we got an original carte vista of him taken in Louisville, Kentucky, holding this particular sword. So I'm going to back it off and try not to make it too dizzy. And then rotate this thing around just a hair and see if we can bring Thomas up with that sword. We got a lot of glare in here from the cameras and the lights. And there's Mr. Sedgwick holding that sword. And that was taken in Louisville, Kentucky. So this is the final shot that we're going to take in this particular display. It's just a wonderful display, and a couple of shots we didn't get. We got his kepi and his spurs and his Hardy tactic book and his wallet. just the normal stuff that an officer would carry. But again, just a wonderful piece of Kentucky history and of Civil War history. And so we hope you enjoyed it. And again, from the old guru, just tickled to death to do this for you. And from the directors of the museum, Battles of the Western Theater, we bid you farewell.